Every generation needs a revolution, Jimmy. The American dream is just that. Just a dream. War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank. This is our war. And this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio! The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Barbara Jean Lindsay is an internationally acclaimed psychic, spiritual healer, author, and founder of the online mystery school, Esoteric University. As the Cosmic Oracle, she is a conduit to the powers that be to answer your questions about your future self, past lives, current career, love. She shines light into the darkness to illuminate what was, what may be, and beyond. The readings and advice given by Barbara Jean Lindsay are for entertainment purposes only, should not take the place of any medical, legal, or financial advice given to you by a qualified professional, and are not a substitute for medical, legal, or financial advice. If you need a doctor, call a doctor. If you need to be expanded, call the Cosmic Oracle.
This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsay, and welcome to the Cosmic Oracle Show. Today is Friday, October 6th, 2017, and we are coming to you live from Folsom, California. And I had a talk with Patrick earlier. Where was I coming from tonight? And tonight I'm in Northern California, in beautiful Folsom, California. And Patrick is our producer. Welcome, Patrick English, to the show. And we wouldn't have our show here at all without our illustrious producer. How you doing today, Patrick?
Oh, fine, thanks, Barbara. You're way too kind.
Well, you know, what can I say? We've been doing this for a while now, so we have a relationship, a good relationship on the show, and so I'm really thankful for that. And so, to have our show on the air, it takes money, and it takes donations from you, the listeners here who have been so supportive over the years. And we're asking you again on this date for a donation. And we ask that if you go to freedomslips.com and push that donate button and donate. And for every donation that you give, be rest assured that all the money goes directly to the station. Patrick doesn't get paid for this. I don't get paid for this. We all just do this work out of the generosity of our heart and putting the truth out. And so, Patrick, where are we on our donations so far?
Well, out of $25.75 that we need, we're raised up to $364. Finally, after some days of still being in the hole from last month, but finally we're showing in the black. But we need to, and thank you, whoever did that, but we need to keep going. Seriously, we need to put the pedal to the metal here and get some real donations coming in, because if every listener could send $5, we would just be rolling in it. And so
we need your help to keep us on the air. So find that donate button at freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio, and give whatever you can afford, and no amount is too small. And we really sincerely appreciate your continued support. And so this evening on the Cosmic Oracle Show, we have a wonderful guest speaker. Her name is Suzanne Ross, and I had the privilege of meeting her. Was it almost a year ago? When was this? I don't remember. We'll have her talk about that. But I met her in Cottonwood, Arizona, at the Awareness Life Expo there, the Awareness Center in Cottonwood, California. And her and I just hit it right off and started creating things and helping out and doing everything we could to keep everything going. And we started this friendship. It was kind of like an aha, I know you, and she gave an aha, I know you, and so this sisterhood developed. So it was really a good initial recognition, and sometimes you find that when you greet someone that you haven't seen for a long time, and that sense of community and friendship over the eons or decades or
Barbara?
lifetimes. Yes.
But we've got an echo here.
Okay.
If I could please ask our guests to mute, that may fix it.
Okay.
Mute when they're not speaking. They haven't spoken yet, but
Okay.
an open mic that can cause that.
Oh, that's much
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
There we
Well, thank
go.
you so much.
Thank you. So Suzanne Ross is here this evening on our show, and she's such a busy person, and she's such an amazing creator, and full of life and energy, and full of these ideas that not only does she just have them in her head, but she actually creates them and manifests them out in the world. And that's one of her significant signs that she has and abilities that she has, is to have all of these concepts and then be able to actually manifest them, create them, and manifest them in the world to success. And so we'll be talking with Suzanne, and we'll just invite you on now. Suzanne Ross, welcome to the show, to the Cosmic Show.
Thanks so very much, Barbara. I'm so delighted to be here today. And thanks, Patrick, for getting us all set up here on the radio. I sure appreciate it.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, we'll tell them a little bit about you, that you are an inspirational author. And I know that you've written one book, which I've been able to read, and I don't have it with me right now, but when I see you at the October special event at the Awareness Life Expo, the Heart Frequency Conference, I'll have you sign it again for me. So last time you did and wrote a beautiful testimonial in there for me, and I really appreciate it. So we'll have to do that again. And that's your book, Wake Up. And you started to write this book. It was one of your first ones, but you also have Rise Up, which is igniting the spirit. And you have Lighten Up, which is purifying the body. And Wake Up is liberating the mind. So it's this beautiful trifold effect for people to wake up, rise up, and lighten up. And so you've been in this for like 25 years. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got it started in this type of, it's business, but it's also a life dream, or a life, you got to do it, you cannot not do it sort of a thing. And so if you could share with us, Suzanne, maybe an extraordinary experience that helped shape you into what you are today.
Well, thanks so much, Barbara. That is exactly right. It was all ignited by an extraordinary experience that I had almost 25 years ago. And prior to this incredible experience, I was, working in the corporate world, and I was living the so-called American dream, which for me at that time had become a nightmare. I found the corporate world to be incredibly brutal. I was extremely stressed out, and that was exhibiting itself in many physical conditions. I also had anxiety, and I was just finding myself in a place where I felt that there had to be more meaning and purpose to life than waking up and fighting brutal traffic and going and working in a mean-spirited political environment and then fighting traffic and coming home to eat, go to sleep, wake up, and do it all over again. So one day I walked out to the kitchen and I said, there just has to be more to life than this. And if there isn't, I'm out of here. And about that time, the phone rang, and it was my family calling from Southern California. I was living on the East Coast at the time. They called from Southern California and said, hey, we just bought this vacation home and we'd love for you to come and visit. And I knew that was exactly what I needed, was just a break from it all. So I headed out to the desert of Southern California and started experiencing joy and love and laughter that I hadn't felt in a long time. And as the vacation wore on, I suddenly woke up in a panic that this was all going to end and I was going to have to return to purgatory. So
that's in Utah, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a desert.
For me, it was in New Jersey at the time. Yes, my friends. So on that morning, I sat straight up in a panic, and I was compelled to run out the front door and run towards these beautiful mountains that were behind their home. And as I ran, I noticed that the sun was coming up from behind the mountains, and it was shooting these beautiful orange-red rays up from the mountains. And in the distance, the mountains looked like shadows. And as I ran towards the mountain, I felt like if I could just keep running, I could run away from my fate. And I wanted to run directly to the top of that mountain. And so I did, without even noticing the burning in my legs or the pain in my chest. I ran straight to the top, threw my arms up, looked up to the sky, and just said, I am miserable in the extreme, but see no way out. And in that moment, I just felt this total sense of calm wash over me. And it felt as if the air around me was actually embracing me. And I heard this voice resonate within me and all around me. And it simply said, can't you see you've come home, and you will stay here and heal yourself and many others. And you are loved more than you can possibly imagine.
And this was in Palm Springs, California?
Near Palm Springs, yes.
And so
yes.
From that point, you were transformed, or is it something that happened, like when we work with transformation, I'd like to have all the download, all the information integrated in my body by 5:00.
This happened in a singular moment of being one person at one moment, and in the very next moment, it was almost as if I was a different person. Like I was this stressed out corporate manager, filled with doom and gloom and anxiety and depression. And in the next moment, I was filled with so much joy and enthusiasm and excitement about my new life in the desert as a healer. And there was not a shred of doubt in my mind that this is exactly what I was meant to do. In retrospect, now that I am much more wise about these things, I think in that moment, I was actually braided with my higher self. Mm-hmm. And it was almost as if there wasn't even a whisper of the previous self.
Mm-hmm. Like a new you stepped in, the real
that's
you.
That's right.
The more
that's
you,
right. Yes.
The more you, the bigger, better, more beautiful and power to be reckoned with you.
Yes, that's right. I was so empowered and inspired. And I had been suffering from physical ailments as well, which just seemed to disappear in a moment. And I was filled with this vital health and exuberant energy. And I ran down the mountain. And for the next 2 weeks, I just followed the guidance of spirit. It was almost as if I was being pushed around by this invisible force to do this and to do that. And at times I felt like I could actually watch myself from above as I, performed these different actions. Like immediately I got in my car and I drove to the nearest 5-star resort, and I marched in and told them that I was looking for a job in wellness. And no kidding, within a half hour, they hired me without even asking for any credentials, welcomed me to their family, and said, "Can you start in 2 weeks?" And I said, "Sure."
Now that's a master plan. That's a master plan there. That you were following. But you had to learn how to follow that, right? And you've been doing that for how long now, since this initial experience, where you're first starting to learn to work with your intuition and work with all these unseen powers. It is like a whole nother life within a life.
Yes, well, I was just so supercharged and super inspired, during that period. I just felt like anything was possible and there were no barriers. And so one thing led to the next. I got this job at this 5-star resort, but then I opened my own wellness center, which just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more clientele. And I stayed there in the desert and healed myself and many others for 12 years, just like the voice on the mountain said I would.
Yeah, and that's a long amount of time. We talked about that earlier. To have this concept and then to really ground it in the earth for like 12 years. And I can't imagine how many people's lives that you changed for the better because of your wellness center.
Oh, thank you so much for that. The stories go on, and being having this feeling of being super empowered with no barriers. Honestly, people would walk in who had had strokes, were in a wheelchair, and I'm not kidding. 6 weeks later, they would walk out with just a cane, because I knew that they would walk again, and somehow they did too. And I instilled them with a belief that they could. And some of the things that I would do, like put them on a treadmill, their physical therapist would call and say, "How dare you? You can't do that." And I would say, "Well, why not? He's doing it." So
there's no is that the beg for forgiveness after you've already done it, right?
Yeah. But yeah, and that was so fulfilling and gratifying, and it was a remarkable time. Yes.
And so you have a website. It's SuzanneRossWellness.com. Is that the best way to get a hold of you, to talk to you about these sorts of things? I know we're going to be talking about some other things too, but if some of our listeners, something sparks in them that they would like to talk to you about this, would that be the best way to get a hold of you, or at SuzanneRossWellness.com?
That is an excellent website to go to reference my book, Wake Up, where you can read all about what happened to me and follow my 10-day life lessons workshop that takes you through this like karmic cause and effect analysis that you apply your most transformational experiences to. And in doing that, the life lessons that you came here to learn become perfectly clear. And in the process, you're able to balance karma, and you're able to go through a process of awakening that is life-changing.
So you really are liberating their mind by doing these certain, do you have meditations or just a plan that you have and that was given to you in meditation or through thought or through guides or?
Yes, thank you so much for asking. So as my life progressed, I moved beyond the experience in the desert with the wellness centers. And around 2008, there was a huge economic downturn, which had a really devastating impact on this desert town where my dream had come true. And as I watched everything fall apart around me, literally the 5-star resort where I got my first job out there, they put up chain link fences with no trespassing signs. I mean, the town just rolled up and blew away. And as it did, my dreams died with it. And it was a classic dark night of the soul, which led to an awakening into an even bigger, brighter expression of myself as I was turned away from the darkness and into the light. And I saw a light that was so incredibly bright that I knew I would never look back. And that is when I started to step onto a Buddhist path and doing these really powerful meditations where I would feel spirits wisp into the room and spin around me, and the wind would blow my hair back, and I knew that I was being visited by these beautiful beings who would come to bless me and offer me guidance and peace and joy. And then I started to realize that I could do automatic writing and channeling. And that is how the instructions for me to write these books came to me.
So you were into Rise Up, and that's igniting the spirit. And then your latest one coming out, is it this spring? Lighten Up, Purifying the Body.
Oh, thank you so much for asking. Yes, my next book, Rise Up, Igniting the Spirit, is more metaphysical. And it's a virtual adventure where we go to sacred sites around the planet. And along the way, we talk about all of the different spiritual beliefs, philosophies, science, religion. And we really merge science and spirituality on this virtual adventure. And on the way, we do meditations and journaling. And it's really a beautiful metaphysical adventure. And that will come out in January of 2018.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And then with your sustaining this unity community, I like those two words, unity community of light, for the people on a large acreage in Sedona, Arizona, where your desires to uplift and inspire and empower humanity, just continuing to do that, and it evolves as you evolve. I know we talked a little before the show, and you said, Barbara, I'm doing all of these things and I feel like I'm doing them as a part of a microcosm for the macrocosm of people. Can you address that a little bit with your work?
Yes, I'd be delighted to do that. You know, a couple years ago, I came to Sedona on vacation. I was actually headed for the Grand Canyon. And just to back up a tad, in 2012, I was sitting in meditation and I heard this voice just say, get up and write on a vision board. In 2015, my husband Scott and I will move to Sedona. At the time, it seemed highly unlikely, but I got up and wrote that on my vision board, taped it to my closet, and went on with my life. We lived in Northern California. My husband worked in the Silicon Valley. I had a full-time job at a wellness center. And I had never even heard of this place, Sedona, and certainly had never been here. And I just knew I wanted to go to the Grand Canyon for my birthday. And I said, well, you know what? Let's go through this place called Sedona. And as soon as we got here and saw these magnificent red rock temples, we were both speechless and breathless. And I just looked at him and said, you know what? I need to live here. I can hear these beings, these red rock beings calling me home. The goddess Sedona had called me home. And miraculously, one thing led to the next. And in 2015, Scott and I moved to Sedona. And when we did, our lives started expanding in miraculous ways.
Wow. And quickly, probably, your frequency just went, wah, out, up, and away.
Yes, absolutely.
And
this place is supercharged.
It is. I want to tell the listeners, if you meet her, if you ever have the privilege of meeting Suzanne, she is lit up. Like, you can hear that in her voice and in her talking, but also when you see her, she's this beautiful blue-eyed blonde, and she has so much enthusiasm and energy that she kind of glows from within. So I want to tell our listeners that. So they wouldn't miss you in a crowd, Suzanne, that's for sure. So,
aw, thank you so much for that. I adore you. You're such a doll.
We have a lot of fun. We're going to continue to do that, I think, over the years. And so I would like to talk about one of your, you're doing so many wonderful things. So you moved to Sedona, you had a vision there of a center that you're working with. Is that still something that you're working on a nonprofit project as well?
Yes. Thank you so much for asking about that. After I got to Sedona, I started to do these ascension meditations on my back deck. And as I did, this vision started to download of this unity community, and even the structures themselves started to develop in these visions where I could clearly see that there was this large acreage, and on it would be these different structures for healing and teaching and learning and practicing and counseling. And, one thing led to the next. And soon I was sitting in front of a real estate agent who was showing me this property that looked exactly like my vision. And so I hired an architect who did these renderings of what I was seeing. And the development of that property is moving full steam ahead, and we hope to be able to invite people to come and enjoy it by the thousands, including our Inner Earth families to ascend and join us, and also our galactic brothers and sisters to descend and walk amongst us. So this is truly a unity community for the people of light in all realms.
So that's a new as above, so below, because then they can connect both of those at your center.
Yes.
Excuse me. And so what is the name of that nonprofit?
Yes, it is Awakening, and the website for that is www.theawakeningcenters.org. And you can go on there and check it out. It is such a cool website because you have the opportunity to become a member. And for a really small donation of like $9.99 a month, you can take advantage of a bunch of free offers and deep discounts from all kinds of spiritual guides and teachers and psychics and counselors and even people who create, organic nutrition products. And all you have to do is, go to the site, and for that small monthly fee, which is simply a donation, all of these spiritual practitioners have, their website on there and their contact information, and you just tell them that you're now a member of Awakening, and you will right away get free services and deep discounts.
Wonderful. It's amazing. It is a beautiful website as well. I have checked it out. So let's go on then to your next project that you have great enthusiasm for now, which is your Lighten Up Radio, which is a multimedia show. Can you tell us about that? We were talking about that earlier, and I just find that fascinating about your supernatural adventures and how that kind of started and what people can look forward to in the spring of 2018, I think it is. Maybe before, maybe a little after, not sure. So
yes, I'll give a little clarity around that. So one of the things that I started doing even when I was back in Northern California was I started a internet television show called lightenuptv.net. And I started interviewing thought leaders and authors. And it was just so astonishing to me because I was reading these great books and I love these authors, and magically I would reach out to them and they would agree to do interviews with me and to be on my show. And so Voice America TV saw what I was doing and creating and posting on YouTube, and they reached out and asked if I'd like to have a weekly show on their brand new television network. So back in the fall of 2015, I was one of their very first TV shows, and they soon had over 5 million listeners viewers from around the world tuning in monthly to their network. And I had the number 2 most watched show on their network for 6 straight seasons. And so once a week, I had to, interview a global thought leader or author or speaker, and it was just so much fun. I built a television studio in the lower level of my home, and people were flying in from all over the world to come and be in the green room and interview with me and have their television show featured on Voice America TV. And so it was a really extraordinary time doing that television show. But then my attention got diverted to creating another television series for the network. But on my my website, lightenuptv.net, I have archived all of those interviews, and all you have to do is go and click on guests, and you can scroll through those interviews and then just click watch now on any one of them, and you can watch those fascinating interviews. But now I am creating a multimedia show. So Lighten Up Radio is now on Blog Talk Radio every Wednesday night from 7 to 8:30. Simultaneously, you can watch the show on lightenuptv.net. So this is going to be a video as well as an audio. So you'll be able to hear us on the radio and watch us on TV at the same time.
Fantastic. Multitasker you are, for sure. And it takes some experience and it's kind of like each experience that you've had kind of grounded you and taught you information so that you could take you to the next level and to the next level and to the next level. And you were just doing your work and just going with the flow of it. We talked about that earlier. And so your next project then is the upcoming television series, The Supernatural Adventures Around the Globe and Into the Cosmos. And can you kind of tell us where the viewer is going to go with this? This is my one that I feel the most excited about for you, is this one.
Oh, thank you so much, my dear. Yes, so when I came to Sedona, I met a gal, Shakina Rose, and we started going out on the land. Every Wednesday, we would go out on the land and we would do spiritual practices. We would spend time in sacred sites here in Sedona at special vortexes, at special portal sites, and we would do meditation. And we soon discovered that we could do telepathic meditation, where we would have the same visions unfold during our silent meditation. And during one of these, it became clear that we were meant to co-create a television show together, which became Supernatural Sedona. And we just had so much fun creating this television series, going to sacred sites around Sedona. Once I started working with Hollywood producers on this concept, they wanted me to expand the vision to include all of the sacred sites around the globe. And so it expanded from Supernatural Sedona into Supernatural Adventures Around the Globe and Into the Cosmos.
That's so exciting. And that's with the Duchess of Hollywood. It's one of the producers or the discoverers of this?
Yes, Duchess of Hollywood is Summer Helene, VP of California Pictures, and we are working together. She is shopping the show and has now 4 major networks interested. We're looking to get it on air in spring of 2018, and the Discovery Channel is looking like our best bet.
That's so exciting. I wish you the best with that. And I'm sure our listeners will too, and to look for that in the spring of 2018. And Supernatural Adventures. So we were talking where you're going to be going, some of the sites you're going to be going to, the sacred sites that have the alignment with the constellations. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, so in my meditations about what this show is meant to look like, I have received guidance that there are actually 13 sacred sites on the planet, and they are aligned with the 13 constellations in the cosmos, with the new 13th constellation being Ophiuchus. So we start out in Sedona, which is the first city of light to come online as we move into this ascension. And so from Sedona, we will move to sites around the globe in Peru, Tibet. We will go to places like Angkor Wat in Cambodia and England to Glastonbury. So many sacred sites, and we will ultimately end up at one of the most sacred sites, if not the most sacred site on the planet, which is at the geocentric center of our planet, Egypt. Egypt, the original place of the original golden age, which is aligned with Orion, which is pointing his sword directly to the 13th constellation of Orpheus. And Orpheus is the gatekeeper to the Ascension portal. So there was no doubt in my mind while we end up at the 13th site in Egypt aligned with the Ascension portal.
Can you spell that for us so that our listeners know the
Yes.
star Orpheus?
Yes,
So they can
Ophiuchus.
look it up.
Yes, they certainly can. Ophiuchus is Opheucus, and it was actually a constellation that was discovered by NASA, who came out and said that our solar system spends time in this constellation. Our sun passes through this constellation between the end of November and during the month of December. And so now astrologers have come together to reorganize the zodiac wheel to have 13 constellations. So all of the signs have shifted. I am no longer a Virgo, but a Leo.
Wow. That's very controversial, when you say things like that. I'm sure it gets people thinking about what we've held as a tradition, especially astronomers. I know Patrick is a master astrologer himself. So it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say about this a little bit. If you'd like to offer a little something on this, Patrick.
You're going to put me on the spot?
Yeah. But we don't have to.
I'll be very honest. I do not, nor do most astrologers, buy into any 13th sign, any new sign. The constellation's always been out there. It's the snake tamer. To call it a new constellation is somewhat rhetorical. It's just, it is what it is, regardless. But no, we don't use but 12 signs, and there's important reasons for that. But,
so we see as far as the zodiac wheel, and I totally respect your perspective and everyone's perspective. And so I always present in such a way that this is simply one perspective, and I appreciate others being respectful of my perspective as well. We see the 13th sign as actually being in the center of the wheel. So the snake wraps around and it takes its journey 1 through 12, and then it coils up, ends up right in the center, and it spirals through a portal into the ascension. So that is our vision of the 13th sign.
Oh, that's interesting. Would it be like the symbol where the snake bites its own tail, kind of like that? Or is that something totally different? That's the image that comes up when I hear you talking about that.
No, that wouldn't be that, I don't think.
No? Okay. For some reason that came up. So,
well, if the snake just bit its tail and it ended there and that was the end of the story, it wouldn't have the opportunity to spiral into the center and move through the portal.
Yeah.
At the center of the wheel.
Yeah, and a spiral is an important symbol of life, death, and transformation all at the same time. So I like the idea of the spiral in it as well. So
thank
that's
you.
What
the spiraling image has always intrigued me much. Yeah. Like I think the spiral, creation spirals outward, and then in a divine out-breath, it spirals outward and creates, and then in a divine in-breath, it spirals inward and calls itself home. So the spiral has always been really a fascinating symbol for me. And, that's sort of what inspires me about the 13th sign in the center.
Yeah, it's fascinating. All of this is fascinating. We're learning all sorts of new things and new ideas, and kind of coming from this information age and into a more of a intuition age.
Yes, absolutely. It's really a time of many changes, and I just enter into it with a totally open mind and open heart, and am just so very blessed to be co-creating with all of my brothers and sisters on this planet at this time. And my only desire is to inspire, empower, and enlighten, and just to present possibilities that may be inspiring for others. But I always ask everyone to decide for themselves.
Of course, discernment, right? Everyone, and whatever we're saying, some things might work, and have your own discernment. Some things may not work, but we get
And
to put
time
it
for
out.
a changing, you know, it's like there's new possibilities on the horizon. Things are not going to be the way that they always have been. It's like expanding, and new things are coming in, and we're learning more and more every day through science and through spirituality. Quantum physics is revealing so much more to us. So, you know, we just have to keep an open and expansive mind and welcome in all of these new possibilities.
And not throw the baby out with the bathwater either, though, right? So you have a respect for what's been tradition, and really take and look at that as well, and honor all of this, honor all of it.
Absolutely.
Mhm. So I
That's
would
our
like,
foundation for sure.
yeah, yeah, and truth, and a truth. So let's talk about then some upcoming events you have. So October 13th through the 15th, you're going to be a speaker at Javier Sandoval's Awareness Life Expo, Lifting Consciousness, Expanding Awareness to the Heart Frequency Conference.
Yes, I'm very excited about that conference. And that's where you and I met, Barbara
Yep,
Jean,
I
at
know.
Javier's conference last year.
Yep.
Yes. I am really looking forward to it. It's always such a wonderful time, and he has such incredible speakers and authors and psychics and, you know, otherworldly beings showing up there. So I know it's going to be a really great time. Yes, and I will be presenting about the awakening and ascension of humanity, because that's what I've dedicated my life to. And so there's always a variety of topics to discuss. And so I'll have 2 opportunities to speak. So I'll be speaking about, you know, the projects that I'm working on, but also presenting some very empowering practices that the audience can do. So I always offer an interactive spiritual practice for everyone to engage in, so we can really raise the frequency of the collective consciousness.
Right. And also give them some tools to use in their everyday life to help expand the consciousness and lift up that frequency. So it's experiential, shall we say.
Absolutely. And I really do believe that when, you know, spiritually inspired people gather in large groups and we do spiritual practices together, that we really make a powerful, energetic impact on the matrix.
Yeah.
We can really light up that matrix. And if 100 of us are engaged in this practice, we can activate 100,000 souls on the planet by lighting up the grid and raising the frequency of the collective.
Mm-hmm. And there's such power in people gathering. That's what I found. When you have a group of people gathering from all over the world that are going to show up and teach and be open-minded and willing to, you know, learn something new and try it on for size and see if it fits or works, and then what doesn't, they can just throw away.
Yes, absolutely. I always offer practical spirituality. And, you know, when we get together individually as a small group or as a large group, we can always cause a resonant wave, you know, to expand outward from our group and just have a positive effect on many.
Yeah. And on November 11th, you're doing an event called Activating the Star Seed in Sedona Community Center in Sedona, Arizona. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yes, thanks for asking. So, Activating the Starseeds is an event that is hosted by Shakina Rose. Her website is shakinaspeaks.com, and she is one of the first people I met when I came to Sedona, and she is a sacred soul sister, and we've had many lives together as Lemurians and Venusians, and we're both Blu-rays, and so I'm very excited to be doing this event with her, or making a live appearance at her event. And I will be talking about some of my own starseed DNA, some of the adventures that I have had with otherworldly contact, and channeling my higher guides and guardians.
Sounds fantastic. And then November 22nd, you have Opening the Golden Gate at the Sedona Community Center, Sedona, Arizona.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. I'm really excited about that because this new radio show, Lighten Up Radio on Blog Talk, was inspired by my dear, dear friend, Matthewus Imhotep, who is the author of the Seventh Seal series. And he is incredibly well-versed on the Egyptian mystery schools, numerology, and astrology. And he has done so much research around Orion and the gatekeeper, Ophiuchus. And we're just so very excited to show people how 522 lines up as the Silver Gate, which directly across the chart lines up with 1122 as the Golden Gate. They are both directly aligned with Orion and Ophiuchus, and we will be opening the Golden Gate of Abundance on that date.
Wow. And then you have one then on December 9th through the 10th, the Galactic Wave event.
Yes, I had.
You are so busy. This is what I'm telling our listeners. You are just like this power horse, this power center yourself. So please tell us about the Galactic Wave event on December 9th through the 10th at Sedona Community Center.
Thanks for asking. Yes, so there is a gentleman named Ray Mardyks, Mardyks, who wrote a book called Sedona Starseed back in the late 90s. And while he was here in Sedona, he was going to each of the red rock formations and really feeling into the energy of the rock beings. And as he did so, he tuned into various star races that were connected with that rock being, and he communicated with them. And so he, in this book, takes us on what is called the galactic wave, where, you go from rock formation to rock formation, and each one you have a galactic initiation. So he has been sort of under the radar for a couple of decades, but I was able to find him, contact him, and he is going to bless us with his presence at this event for the first time in years, stepping back into the spotlight with his galactic wave and initiations. But we're going to have some amazing speakers at this event. Christine Day, who is the author of the Pleiadian Promise and other Pleiadian-inspired books. She's a Pleiadian ambassador and is very well known and does tours around the world. We're so delighted to have her. We've just made contact with Michael Tellinger. We're hoping that he'll bless us with his presence, and we've reached out to Drunvalo Melchizedek and hope that he'll agree to come as well. But we have many confirmed speakers like Tolek of the Andromeda Council, Adana, who is a star ancestry guide, Tom Dongo, who's been here for 30 years and has phenomenal footage of crafts and beings, and Amanda Romania, who had the Atlantis Gallery here. I mean, it just goes on. We have lots of musicians. Peter Sterling, Grammy-nominated harpist. Stands with Bear, who plays the Native American flute. Devara Thunderbeat, who has beautiful CDs. She's a recording artist and has been for over 20 years. So it's going to be so much fun. December 9th and 10th at the Sedona Community Center. Come one, come all. Of course, we'll have interactive spiritual practices and it will be an activation for everyone.
And you get to meet possibly or some lifelong friends or some like-minded people. That's what I like about conferences and people coming together, and while in between the amazing speakers or the music, you start talking with people and you make these amazing friends, and you don't feel alone, you don't feel isolated, you actually start to feel more connected.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I met you at that event, Barbara, there was an immediate soul connection, and it was definitely more of a reunion, and it brought tears to my eyes. And, as we just embraced each other, I just knew I had reunited with one of my very precious soul sisters.
Thank you. I felt the same too. And I know you do goddess work too. And I know in the future you're looking at doing a goddess conference. I know we had talked about some of that. So we can look for the future. That is something that you could possibly be doing as well.
Yes, I love to do goddess retreats. I've done many goddess retreats here in Sedona since I came here, and we do goddess rituals and ceremony, particularly at the solstices and equinoxes when the veil is thin between interdimensional worlds.
and it's such a beautiful place there. Just looking at your website, all the color of the rocks and the stones and the sacred temples there, that it just opens up for spiritual beliefs to come up out of the rocks themselves. And I know I've had that experience myself at the Enchantment over in Boynton Canyon, where you're just sitting there meditating, minding your own business, and then oops, out comes this spirit walking up to you and has a conversation with you. So you never know when it's going to happen or where it's going to happen, but it is going to happen, and you will change and you will be transformed.
Yes, absolutely. And people can go to SedonaCelestialRetreats.com, and they can check out the goddess retreats that I've had here and see some of the guests who come and some of the thought leaders who come. And it's just, it's beautiful. It's a very inspiring event. And I wanted to let everyone know, Barbara, I absolutely love to connect with my fans and followers. And you are all invited to email me at SuzanneRoss64@yahoo.com. Anytime. You can follow us on Twitter at SupNatAdv, which is SupNatAdv. It's short for Supernatural Adventures. Mm-hmm. And you can follow us on Facebook at Suzanne Ross. You can find our YouTube channel. So if we have a minute to talk about the YouTube channel, that would be great, Barbara.
That's how I want to end. We have 5 minutes, and you read my mind, because that's what I'd like for you to do, is tell us about your new YouTube channel and what your ideas are for that and how the listeners can help you.
Oh, yes. Thank you. So we are looking to have Supernatural Adventures air on the Discovery Channel in the spring of 2018. One of the things that we really want to do is build the subscribers to our YouTube channel. So the more and more people who subscribe to our YouTube channel, the more we can build our audience. And so we are showing sneak peek quick clips of Supernatural Adventures. And these are 30 to 90 second clips of us out on the land at these sacred sites. And it's so much fun to watch these quick clips. And so every day, every other day, we're posting these clips. And so we would love for you to go to our channel, check them out. You're going to love them. And every subscriber gets my free ebook called Merge. And it's all about merging your ego with your spirit.
And it's free, so why not, right? It's something where you give away something and it doesn't take much time, and then it helps the exponential rise of great information and beauty. When I've seen some of your interviews, there's such beauty that you put in your backgrounds as well. So it is like an art form, your television series.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we try to bring in as many inspiring images and activational graphics like sacred geometry and sacred symbols with really positive messaging. And then we put music underneath, like the language of light or hemisync music. So it's really an activation for anyone who is watching.
Well, and you can really feel your heart in it, that you can feel that, you're not doing this for any other reason than to help humanity.
Yes,
you
and we have a
maybe
soft-
end with that, because I'd love for them to know you the way that I know you.
Thank you. I truly am dedicated to inspiring and enlightening and empowering humanity because I dearly love the human race. I love all of my brothers and sisters, and I love all living things and beings on this planet and in this planet and throughout the galaxy. I am here to spread radiant love and light to all.
So if you want to connect with Suzanne, the best way to get a hold of her, Suzanne Ross, that's SuzanneRoss, Sam 64 at yahoo.com. So that's Suzanne Ross 64 at yahoo.com. And you can check out her books on Amazon. And I looked them up. Wake Up is on there, Liberating the Mind, Rise Up, Igniting the Spirit, and Coming Out, Lighten Up, Purifying the Body. They can go to your website, SuzanneRossWellness.com, lightenuptv.net, and theawakeningscenters.org. It's just been a real pleasure having you on the show today. And I know that right after this, you are such a busy person. You're going on to our new friend. I haven't met her yet. I've only talked with her through the email and on phone, but you'll be doing a show with Cordana Infinity. Can you just for a moment tell us about that interview going on tonight?
Oh, thanks for asking. Yes, that is going to be Cortana Infinity and Brian Bressler's show called Shift Happens.
And that's on the KTLK, the Fringe FM. So
yes,
we want to thank you for being on our show today, Suzanne, and being an inspiration to everyone, and definitely motivate people and integrate all of the diversity of life that's out there, from your websites to your television shows to your events and to your retreats and to just all of your healing that you do for so many.
Oh, thank you so much, dear Barbara. And I so appreciate you having me on your show. It's truly been my pleasure, and I can't wait to see you next weekend.
I know it's already going to be here next weekend. It's sooner than we know it. So it'll be, I'll have to hug your neck and we'll jump up and down and scream the way we do, and everything will be perfect.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Patrick.
Oh, you're very welcome, Suzanne.
Okay. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Suzanne. Thank you. See
Bye-bye.
you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
So for all of our listeners, we have a break coming up in just a few minutes, and it was a minute. Yeah. And it's just really great to connect with Suzanne again. And, you know, sometimes I get really busy and I think I'm doing so much, but to see all the things that she is doing and has done in the past and what she's going to do in the future is pretty amazing. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening to the Cosmic Oracle Show.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
In breaking news, a visiting Syrian diplomat reported today that their population is evolving rapidly and advancing into a fifth dimensional consciousness. They are seeking peace with all cosmic cultures, which may mean that the Earth will be asked to join the prestigious Galactic Federation of Light Alliances. Please join Debbie West and Michael Hathaway on Lost Knowledge. Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Studio A for the latest breaking news on the Star Visitor's peaceful contact and the ongoing project of cleansing the Earth.
Who are you? I am the architect. I created the Matrix. I've been waiting for you. Why am I here? You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision, which has led you inexorably here. You haven't answered my question. The Matrix is older than you know, as you are undoubtedly gathering. The anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equation. Choice. The problem is choice.
Right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Be here Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Private Eye Matrix Revealed with Monique Lasan.
Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically autonomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday at 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
The body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. The heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. And do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
Hello, this is Maggie Rose McGrath of The Concord Show.
And co-host Marine Corps Map, coming to you on Monday and Tuesdays in Studio A, noon to 2 Eastern.
And Studio B on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern, with educational, instructional, information, and situational updates, often with wonderful guests on the current landscape in the U.S. and overseas.
This is a go.
We are with you, side to side, and back to back.
Please join us on Monday through Wednesdays,
as well as other hosts and guests here on Revolution Radio.
We're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore. We said we're not gonna take it it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello and welcome back. This is Barbara Jean Lindsay, the Cosmic Oracle, and you're listening to the Cosmic Oracle Show, and we're on freedomslips.com. That's www, I don't know if you say that anymore, but freedomslips.com, and we are Revolution Radio, the #1 listener and user supported station on the web. And we ask that you go to freedomslips.com, push that donate button and donate. And for just, $5, $10, whatever you can do really helps us out. And Patrick English, our producer, he's the one that makes this all happen here every Friday night from 5 to 7. He doesn't get paid. I don't get paid. And he's here. And you have your own show, Patrick.
I do.
As well on Thursdays, not for public consumption, and that's in Studio A.
That is all correct.
Yes, and that time on that is, I always get time of that is.
It's noon.
Well, at noon, I was going to say at noon. So you have to tune in because I listened in on, you were talking about the Vedas, and you have an inspiration to do that. And it's really beautiful to hear it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So welcome back, everybody. It was great having Suzanne Ross on, and I had the pleasure of meeting her, and we had quite a connection at the last event. And I will be coming to Cottonwood, Arizona, which is just right out Sedona, Arizona, next weekend. I will be there Friday through Sunday, October 13th, 14th, and 15th at the Awareness Center at 1802 First Street. And it's just off of the Arizona State Route 260 in Cottonwood, Arizona. And that's just minutes south of Sedona. And it'll be Friday from 9 to 6, Saturday 9 to 6, and Sunday 10 to 5. And you can get your tickets still at awareness.lifeexpo.net. That's awareness.lifeexpo.net. And they also just put up a website where if you can't actually go to the conference, where you can actually just for, I think it's $25, you can get a live streaming of the conference. And I will be speaking there twice, and I will also be doing a workshop. So I'm really excited about being a part of it and being in the beautiful Arizona country, and doing a little road trip with my best friend, Jannie Newell, to get there. So we're already picking out our music. So I will be talking about extraordinary experiences, and I will also be talking about my favorite subject, which is it's all about the love, baby. And so I will be talking about that we come from love, we return to love, and we never die. And so I'll be just talking about some of my experiences in the afterlife, and doing a PowerPoint presentation. So it should be all in fun and with a whole bunch of people gathering up. So it should be wonderful. So what I'd like to go on and talk about, in in putting together this PowerPoint slides and trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about or what I thought was maybe important to talk about, I went into meditation. That's what I do if I'm not sure about something. And I sit in meditation, and then, these ideas can come up, and I can either elect to take the information in or not. And so I started talking in the meditation, not to myself, but these visions went by in about intuition and using your intuition. And I found that, for the last 25 years, when I had my, near-death experience, what the changes were, the transformation that happened was that I developed a more of a relationship with my inner self so that I could live life in more of a intuition state of beingness, and instinct and intuition are diametric opposites. Can you talk about that, Patrick?
Diametric opposites.
Diametric opposites, yeah.
The instinct is of the lower self. Excuse me. The lower self is what goes away when you, quote unquote, die. And all animals have instinct, and humans' instinct is brought forward to the highest manifestation. But still, it's just of the earth. It's the lower self. Intuition is of our real selves. That's the higher self. Because we have two minds. Yeah. We have two selves.
Is that kind of like that story about the wolf, that we have two wolves, where the
devil on our left shoulder and an angel on our right shoulder.
Yeah. And like about wolves, you have the evil wolf and the good wolf. And so which one are you? And the answer is the one that you feed.
That's so true. That's so true. You can elect to feed the lower self, or you can elect to feed the higher self, or and to feed from the higher self because it knows. But that's discussed a whole lot in places I can direct you to. But it's a simple thing. But we have two minds, and these two minds are locked in deadly combat till our last breath on this planet. You will always better fight.
Choose wisely, right?
You will. Well, I mean, it's just an ongoing battle. Expect it. You'll always be fighting with your lower self. No human gets, so totally elevated, especially most of the people that we see and who are ourselves, maybe some saint somewhere, but even them, they still have a lower self. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, I know as best as I try and be, I still, screw up in a really profound way. And then I'm looking at myself and saying, you know what, that was just not a good choice. That was just not a good choice.
Yeah, live and learn, that's the best thing to do. As long as we keep trying, and it's our intent that is so important. So
I agree. And with each day you wake up, I love that part, that each day is a new day. It doesn't mean that you cannot have responsibility of all your actions that you take, but you can, just take them out and have an awareness of them, and that look at them so that you can decide that you might have made different changes, or if I would have done this, but not get trapped in the coulda, shoulda, wouldas either and hurt yourself over it. I had to really work on, and I'm still working on getting out of that when I do screw up majorly or make a mistake, that I don't beat myself up.
Well, that's a lower self thing again. You're letting the lower self come to the fore and do the beating, while the higher self is forgiving.
Right.
It's done. Let's keep going. That's all you do is pick yourself up and try it again. Keep
and dust yourself off and get back on that horse, right?
That's right.
Get back on that horse and just keep going. And also a part of just hoping for the best, and not hoping, but actually expecting the best.
And prayer. Lots of prayer is good because it works.
It does. It's effective and it's powerful. And especially...
Excuse me, Barbara. 619. I cannot take your call. I'll put the server on hold. If I were to have your Skype contact, I can pull you into the group, but I can't take your call.
Maybe they could text the question in our chat room.
If they're in there, yes. I don't know where 619 is.
Yeah, if they go on to freedomslips.com and go to the chat room, they would have to get they would have to be a member though, right? Or not? I don't remember.
Well, they're probably in chat, but I'm just not sure which one it is. Okay. They'd have to, raise their hand.
Yeah, so if they have a question, please ask it in chat and I'll do what I can. Because the reason why we're talking about this too, there were a couple reasons that this merging with the work that I've been doing and putting together this talk or presentation was that shift from the information age to the intuitive age. I had not heard of that. And so there's something in me that kind of sparked a aha, that I've been trying to work at an intuitive age since, probably since the moment I was born in some ways, and the merging of this part of yourself, like you're saying, Patrick, this higher self, and let it take the lead. And if you can relax and let go and breathe into it a little bit.
And that's what meditation attempts to do is to wake it up, because it is sleeping for the most part in most people.
Yeah.
Because coming into incarnation, the higher self literally almost dies. It is nailed to the cross of matter, and it exists in a more or less unconscious state, unless the individual is evolved enough, because they've had enough lifetimes behind them and they're starting to turn towards the higher things where that self can be awakened. Mm-hmm. But it's the lower self. It's a real interesting little fella, that lower self.
You have to tame him, right? Or tame this person, or tame the beast.
Yeah, it wants to think its way through everything too. It's those people who think they can think their way to heaven. It's not going to happen. Because thinking is a function of the lower self, not of the higher self.
And of the brain itself.
Yeah, right. And that's not going to get it.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not in the brain. They say, oh, yeah, well, this is there and this is that. Well, yeah, they're connected. The brain is like a computer that serves to collate all the input from the sense organs and everything. And then the two selves are entirely intertwined into that and the body. But the higher self is pretty much sleeping in most people.
Yeah, and is this having to do too with this, like a new golden age? Is that we had the golden age, the silver age, the bronze age, the iron age, and then you probably know more about this than I do, Patrick, and then
those are the yugas. That's how that's said.
All the yugas. Yeah. But we're affected by it, and that's a part of it too. Of the whole thing, of this whole process, this evolutionary process that we're going through. Mm-hmm. And so I've been learning to play with these new ideas of energy. They're new for me, because when I find out about something, I have to kind of try and fit it in my paradigm or not, And so there was some of it like I love the word energetic frequency. I love those words, energetic frequency of the body and of emotions and of the mind, in a way, accelerating, where you can have some power over the mind, right? Some level of awareness.
Now, which mind are you talking about too?
Right.
People just use the word mind as like a singular thing, but no, like I say, there's two. Mm-hmm. There's two minds. It's the lower self and the higher self.
Right.
And you got to deal with both of them, and it gets kind of confusing. It's a real deal but people talk about a golden age. We're on the verge of it. Well, hopefully there'll be better times here and there, but don't look for any real change or golden age until the end of the Kali Yuga, which we're now in. And that Kali Yuga does not end for another 427,000 years. Okay. Yeah. It just started 5,000 years ago. So don't get your hopes up.
Yeah. But in the meantime, us that came here too, I feel like that if I can be aware, right? Awareness is everything, right?
Oh, yeah. We're not going to, those who don't want to suffer won't, because they'll be aware of it. And then let's do our best to transcend all this.
Yeah.
But let's say it's going to work for everybody, like some kind of the world's going to ascend to some new level.
Yeah.
I think that is a serious error.
Well, it can be very misleading for people. It doesn't make them responsible for their lives, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have that choice. If we're going to, feed the ego or co-create with intuition, or follow the intuition of that kind of we possess too, and to work with it, it's kind of building a relationship with it, kind of like where we were told, at least I was growing up, you're just the body, you're all these things and all the conditioning. And then when you pull out of it and you see the lie of all the conditioning, then you just go, what? And you're free from it. Then what do you do once you're aware? You can't go back, and you can't hide, in the dark, and you can't put, there's like this big elephant in the living room and you can't go around it. So you're kind of forced in a way to change, to grow. And that's not easy, and it's not comfortable, and it doesn't feel good. But that's where the beauty is, that we can learn so much about ourselves and learn this personal transformation can happen. And it's not all light and love, shall we say, in some way, but it is based on, I always bring it back to the love part. And whether that's coming from a human perspective or a galactic perspective or an IA perspective, but we might not bleed the same red bloods, all of us, from all the different, wherever we come from, but we all come, I believe, from this love source, because from experiencing it on the other side in another dimension, it was as real as, as me sitting in this room. It made itself real and alive and changing and growing, and had an intelligence to it that was just beyond anything that I could have imagined, shall we say, with that little brain that I had before. And so it was, kind of forced to open up and shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still trying to do that on a daily basis. And most of the time I do a pretty good job. And then I do take a couple steps backwards, and then I go ahead and go back, try and go a few steps forward too. So this information age that we're in, to the intuition age. It's an interesting times we're in, that's for sure, Patrick.
Oh, it is indeed.
We have, for me, it's just been such a learning experience. I feel like I've had 100 lives within this life, and each day, each breath is new information and new choices to make, and change and growth, and and I'm not so much of a scientific proof person. I'm not. And I love the idea of it, and I love all of the beautiful information that about all of the theories and all the science that backs all of this consciousness rising, together. And but it's not who I am. So I'm trying to get the basics,
You
And
gotta
so
be careful with science. You gotta watch it, because these people can only see the material side of things. And the material side of things is the world of effects. It is not the world of causes, and they deny the existence of that world. And so science will never get to a whole or holistic understanding or comprehension of anything with their present mindset.
So,
they try, but it's only, it's like, excuse my French, it's half-assed. I mean, it's half. It's not all there.
Yeah.
Because of their devoted refusal to accept anything spiritual or causal.
So what my wish or my prayer would be then, or my hope would be, that some amazing scientists have experiences.
There are some scientists.
Yes.
They've learned to keep their mouth shut, because they face opprobrium. They face being censured.
Yes,
their
of course, and having
contacts.
their livelihood taken away, right?
Yeah, and the way these guys fight amongst each other is just unbelievable. And there's a really good example, and I've read it once. I may read it again. It's this gravitational wave thing that came out, and everybody just, oh, wow, and they all bow at the altar of science about it. And nah, it's it's pretty well exposed to be a bunch of bunk. But no one's going to say that to science, especially people who aren't scientists, because they respect and worship science so much, and that is the rise of scientism, and its road to scientific materialism is indeed the road to hell, and that needs to be stopped if possible.
Mm-hmm. And so we could work with being more aware, more sensitive, visionary, empath, loving, caring. It's more organic and more natural.
Of course it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Of course it is. People think that they can just subsist on intellect alone, and they make a god of intellect, and who's got the greatest intellect is the greatest among us. And no, gosh, they're off. They're really missing the mark.
Well, I've been there, kind of, when I thought I knew a lot, and I don't know anything. The more you know, you don't know. Mm-hmm. But then there's something, you can find some peace in that somewhere. At least I do. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, but I do like to learn. I do like to question. Yeah. I do like to challenge.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. And a part where I am a consummate skeptic. If I wouldn't have had all of these experiences, I would be a show me, and probably, but I think I always kind of had this heart thing, and I feel like that's the key to all of it, somehow, some way, where we all are connected with that. I don't, and that's still a very limited human perspective, So when you go on the other side and you drop your body and you still exist and you have the awareness that you've come to have or acknowledge when you're there, then you can grow exponentially, and maybe the next time you could have like a different kind of a body, or no body at all, and just have a light being body, and so here on the earth, we have these human bodies because they work organically with the earth themselves. And I think I haven't met a being from another planet in person, and
we hear so much about that, but I have yet to see an alien.
I haven't, but I want to.
If they're out there.
Yeah.
Look, believe me, I'm sure there are billions of civilizations out there. They have to.
Yeah, there has to be.
What is being brought forth for us to feast on here with all, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's also, for the first time, I was playing with ideas of having an alien perspective myself, but in a physical body. And that's just something for me I've just been looking at or playing with. Now, I did have someone tell me what planet I came from and all this, and I couldn't, it didn't feel right.
I think you came from Earth.
I did.
You've probably been incarnating on this planet for a long time.
Yeah, I have. And I have a relationship with this Earth that I really am truly thankful for, and grateful to have a real genuine resonance with it as well. But also, I need to be out in nature more, and I haven't been again. And so it's a interesting life. And so here's the alien perspective. I had someone send me this really wonderful little, just a really small, clip that says, I wish I could find it. It says, we are all aliens. And so I just want to play with that for a minute and just kind of look at it. Okay, we're aliens. Okay. So if I came from another planet or from another galaxy, and there's all the popular ones.
I'm pretty sure it'd be inside this galaxy. This galaxy's huge.
It is.
We can see the others, but no, I don't believe you're going to be crossing intergalactic space. That's just my thought.
Yeah.
Well, everything,
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know. I was in the unknown for a while where and I was on a spaceship for a while, and for what I got from my own perspective was that I didn't really resonate with any particular planet, but that I was a part of all of them, and that I could go and be a part of the Earth for a while, and then I could go and be a part to another system for a while. And just with each system or each planet, you would have a different body because it would be organic to that body, you know, depending on what it needed to survive. And so, but as a soul, the beingness part of me, that was always the core of it all, you know. And so I've been working with these sorts of ideas for a very long time, and actually getting more comfortable with some of these concepts for myself. So when they say we're all aliens, it's not we're all aliens from outside ourselves looking in with that perspective. It's actually the looking at this alien perspective within yourself. And maybe alien is not the best word. Maybe it's a galactic perspective, or a God self perspective, or a we're all full of stars perspective, or a more.
It's all good.
It's
it's good but you're thinking, that's the lower mind thinking, basically. So I found a good little statement here. I was looking for it, talking about the difference between intellect, which is instinct, and intuition. And just a couple of words is intellect. Intellect seeks, analyzes, and theorizes, whilst intuition finds, synthesizes, and keeps.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder if it's and can you see what the intellect was again? I wanted to write that down. Intellect does what?
It seeks, analyzes, and theorizes.
And it kind of demands your attention more too, in a way.
Intuition finds, synthesizes, and keeps. That's that flash.
Yeah. And we all possess both.
Right, exactly. We all do. It's the higher self and the lower self.
Yeah. And so, but, I think we were not given a whole lot of permission, at least I wasn't, to work on the intuition part, only the intellect.
Oh, I think you have.
Yeah.
At least by now.
Well, now I have, but in the very beginning, my first 20 years, maybe, I wasn't, I was, kind of, eating the same food and doing the same thing. And I believe I was trying to blend, and I could never really blend. I really wanted to, but it was going against my own nature, my own self. So I couldn't, in a way. So it's so all these concepts of intuition, and I kind of like the idea of we have all this amazing information, and we have it at our hands, at our fingertips, which is really beautiful. And with that, we have a connection to all of these like-minded people, right? You can go on all these chats and all of that sort of things. And we love to hear about their experiences, at least I do. I found that I'm a much better listener than a talker, except for when I'm on a talk show. It took me a number of years to be able to just actually, like you and I, Patrick, just kind of talking, and feeling relaxed about, being yourself on the air, and trying to be entertaining, but also speak your truth always. And so just kind of following these ideas that are presented, and working with them, and working with that power of that, of giving information and experience and ideas. And I'm much better at presenting an idea than arguing an idea. I'm an arguing idea. I'm not a good arguer. And that, I think, it's like you're saying, where that's the intellect probably likes to argue a lot.
It does,
more. Yeah. And I'm not good at it. I've never been good at it. In fact, I had to learn how to try and be more comfortable with this intellect part of myself, and actually embrace it and enjoy it in a way, and not try and fight it, because I went so far on the other side into the intuition part that I got way off balance. So it took me quite a few years to be able to then come back and be more on the intellectual side on that. The side where you do need to be practical. Sometimes you do need to be pragmatic, and you need to be safe, right? Sometimes. So sometimes it can serve you for sure. And
Well, my thing about arguments is this, and I think I said it yesterday too. You have your stance, and they have their stance, and odds are they're not going to change, and there's no point in trying to change it, which is essentially what an argument is doing. You're trying to change somebody's point of view. Either that or just say, well, I'm going to look down on you because I got the real, and
right. And that's where we get in trouble as a species, right?
Why bother? I don't. I just, I walk off. I got better things to do. Everybody has that first and last freedom to have their own opinion about anything. But that's as far as it goes, too.
Yeah. And you have the right to your perspective.
That's so, yeah.
No matter how different it is, or how unpopular it is, or if you get criticized for just talking about, or have a lot of judgment on you, for saying, that, I do believe this way or that way, and to be sure, it's an insult to, if I can say it, real truth, to argue about it. You don't want to do that. No, I would think you'd want
for doing that.
Yeah, and so the whole key probably to peace on the planet would be to have an open mind.
And more people would just shut up and stop thinking as much. People, they overcogitate. That's the problem. They think too much, literally. Stop thinking. It's okay. It won't hurt you. It'll probably help you.
Yeah. To just go more into that.
You can't say something like that without having someone defending intellect and thinking to the nth degree.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with intellect and thinking. It's a great tool, but you can't let it rule you.
Yeah. Well, and we do have an alliance with our soul-centered self.
Well, that's the higher self.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
So we get to interpret it and understand, this whole amazing, complex world.
Yeah, and people like us, we're aware of that, at least, But like I say, in so much of the world's population, it's essentially asleep.
Yeah.
They don't even know it's there. And that is their real selves. It's the lower self, the thinking self, at least the conscious, intellectual thinking self, dies away when the body dies.
And I think things are changing, though. I do, because and it is the Kali Yuga still. I understand all of that, but I can only speak from my own experience. Like, I was out at a wonderful restaurant, and when we were talking with this young couple, I'm going to be the officiant and marry them, officiate at their wedding, and they asked me to do that, and we're sitting there talking, and I know they know that I'm a spiritual minister, but I don't usually say things about what I do, or unless someone brings it up, and what he had done is he had looked it up online, what I do and stuff, and I didn't know that. And we're just sitting there talking, and we're talking about, doing this and doing that, and then he says, well, I also, I'm really interested in the subject of a perspective, a science perspective, but why we're here and what it's all about. And he's just starting to go into it. And I thought that was really cool that we could start to at least begin that dialogue. And so I was really careful of how I spoke to him and what I said to him, because for me, I want to just tell him everything all at once, and it's too much sometimes. So you have to kind of use your intuition and kind of acclimate, and choose how to word it so that it works for them and can help them and not scare them. In the old days. So it's my discernment, because the old days, man, I would have just, went right for it. And so, finding that balance too of how to integrate into in a world where it
Trick
isn't.
is to learn how to not react, because a lot of our thinking processes are reactionary. And so someone says something, expresses an idea, your first thing is bang right there, and you want to say something about it.
Yeah.
Because that's not quite exactly the way I see things or the way I think it ought to be. And then you're off to the races, and it goes back and forth. And the trick is to learn how to not be affected, to not react, and just let it go by and just remain at peace.
Yeah, and go back to that center, go back to that love part, that joy part, that wonder part.
Yeah, you don't need them. You don't need that, really.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I went through enough divorces, and I finally had to learn that the hard way, Patrick.
Well, I've been through a couple myself. So, look, we're both down the road of life a bit,
Yes,
so
yes.
Not young anymore. And so there's a modicum of wisdom that comes with it.
There is.
So we can expect to have that much.
Yeah, and when you talk with like these younger people, they're getting married, and and I said, I do believe in love. I still believe in love, and I still believe in true love and romance. I believe in all of that. And so he said, well, were you ever married? And I said, yeah, 3 times, And so it's like.
I wish I'd listened to my mom. She said, don't marry that girl.
And she was right, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I got to find out the hard way, but, that's all in the past.
Yeah.
It's life's lessons. We have to go through these things. And
we do. And, I read something the other day. I forget where I saw it because I love to read. And it was about, I think it was Elkert Tolle said it, Tolle. I think it was just looking in some memes. And he said, well, you're not on this earth to be happy.
No, you're not.
Yeah, but we're told that, right? I was.
It's a good thing to try and be happy.
Yeah.
But it's not that easy at times. But even so, that struggle is a good struggle. Remember,
it is a good struggle.
To your dying day, you're going to be locked in a death battle with that lower self. The lower and the higher selves are diametrically opposed. And one represents things that aren't good, and one represents things that are. And so many people, like I say, it's unconscious. It's sleeping in them. So the lower self rules.
Yeah. Well, and then there's that kind of gray part where you can't decide if it's good or evil. I mean, you probably know, but it would take a lot more work to do the intuitive part than the other part, And so, walk in that fire and walk on that path. It's, again, easy to talk it, but to walk it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different animal in a way. And so, and to work with yourself and to find out about yourself. I think it took me a long time to see who I was and what my energy was, or I know everyone's using this word frequency, but what my frequency was and how I resonated at my highest frequency. And I think for me, having the NDE and coming back, while I was over there, I got exposed to or reintroduced to that part of me that was a high vibration, a high frequency. It was amazing. You didn't have the density of the body itself. So you just went like full on charge, bright white light, just like on. And the love that was there was beyond anything that I could ever imagine, and thinking that I knew any part of it.
Well, that's what you were contacting that. Frequency is simply a rate of vibration, be it sound or be it light or hearing or higher things than that, for sure.
Well, and I think we talked in past shows too, Patrick, about frequency in music, and where I know when I used to have asthma as a child, and I wasn't getting enough oxygen, and I didn't have enough strength in the body to tell someone. So what I made a deal with my mom that if I started hearing angels or hearing this high chorus singing, I knew I was way beyond being safe in the body. So I'd have to ring a bell or break a dish or do something to get her to know that I needed my medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I know a lot of people talk about that when they're in between the worlds, shall we say, and in between life and death, or at this real high frequency, and a lot right before you do pass over, they'll hear the angels, or they'll hear this beautiful music frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So being a musician, and it's probably, and I would just think that everyone might have a different perspective of each one of us has that, just like our thumbprint, right? Like a frequency signature, just like our thumbprints or fingerprints or blood type or whatever that is.
We'll be our own person, whoever we are. I'm not even sure what blood types are. I don't know. There's something weird about that. Anyway.
That's a whole other program, right?
Yeah. What I was thinking about that was really great meditation is the Hermetic axioms. And if you just, like the first one is mind, all is mind. And then the second one is correlation, as above, so below, as below, so above. Any way you want to look at it, from atoms, which are little solar systems themselves, on up to our gigantic solar system and beyond. And then there is vibration. That's 3. Then 4 is polarity. And then 5 is rhythm. And 6 is attunement. And it's what you attune to that you get results from. And that's where we get the idea of the word karma. But it's attunement. It's how you are attuning to. And finally, the 7th one is gender.
Oh, that's interesting.
Now, look, because number 4 was polarity. They're not the same thing.
No.
So.
No. A polarity. What does it say about polarity? And do you have a website for that people could go to?
Well, you could just type in a search for the Hermetic axioms. You probably get thousands of results. The Crystal Links would probably have good stuff on it, and other sites too. But these are ancient. They really are. And worth checking into.
Yeah, and as above, so below, right? That kind of comes from that.
I mean, we all hear that all the time.
We do. And each time, I have to tell you, depending on where I was in my life, it had a different meaning to it. And not that each time I knew it was right, but for me, it resonated with me in that moment. And each time it changes. It's changed so many times.
You're not going to marshal the universe into one little easy package, It's changing itself all the time, but it still tends to follow those general themes, not to say rules, but themes.
Yeah.
And polarity is like a magnet, one side is positive, the other is negative. And I guess you can have a male magnet and a female magnet, I guess, because the 6th one is gender. I mean, the 7th is gender.
Yeah.
And so.
Positive and neutral? Would that
No,
would that be
positive and negative. Not neutral.
Yeah. Positive and negative.
Yeah. One pushes, the other pulls.
Yeah. Well, I love the beauty of the male and female then. I really have always appreciated that. So we probably had many lives for me as a man and as a woman, where you can, and part of this life is being able to engender, both of those, understand what they are, what they're saying in the gender, and to embrace both of those within you with respect to the body that you have. It's a cool thing to learn, though, don't you think, about gender? And I don't know a lot, but I do know about the feminine and the goddess and learning that part of me, but I also learned about the male part and how important that is to protect and
have different functions and create.
Yes. And where we do actually have both of those working within whichever body we have.
Mm-hmm.
And working and having, and when you can balance those, that's just that war stops. Not that there was a war, but an awareness of the two of them. And
there is a war between the two of them at all times. Take my word for it. See for yourself. There will be. You know, it's something that's why you have to always be on guard and watching.
Mm-hmm.
Watch yourself. Guard your thoughts.
Yeah.
Because they're things. Thoughts are actually things. They're thrown out into the astral world as actual manifestations of a reality of what they are.
So
your little intellectual thoughts, you know, there's a certain, you can be psychic on the lower level as well as on the higher level.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even like and that affects not only where we are now on this earth plane, but it also affects our astral. It affects us in all sorts of ways because we're not limited to just where we are now. It affects, you know, our whole, I don't know, interdimensional selves, the timelines, and we can go into all of those different.
I don't tend to buy that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You're entitled to that.
Yeah, I think, well, it would be like, you know, like where you can go, I say it in this way, where more of an organic way, in a way, is where I can go, let's say while I'm sitting here talking with you, I can go out, take part of myself and go out to, let's say, to my sister's house, kind of check in with her, have some of my energy there.
It's just projecting yourself there.
Yeah, yeah. But it's a part of it. A part of us being, there's a part of us that's being present within ourselves and where we are and what we're doing. And then there's a part of us that's, like you're saying, is projected. And then there's kind of a future self and a past self too that's still working with a consciousness of those.
But they're all, it's only one self and it's in the now.
It is.
It's one dual self. I should clarify that. But no, there was something else I wanted to say about that, but it'll come back. Oh yeah, I know what it was. It's a strong desire to talk about it, but some of this stuff you just can't talk about because you're trying to use words to grab things that words just really can't grab.
Yeah.
You know, to a point.
Yeah. And that's why I love music. That's probably why you love
go.
music.
Yeah.
And we love the arts, any kind of arts, the painting, dance, poetry.
Yeah, all that.
All of those.
That is the road. That's the road to take.
It is. I agree. For me, I've tried to do that myself, you know, and where, you know, a picture does say 1,000 words. You know, it does. It really, really does.
And painter can actually capture parts of heaven into his painting, and
yeah,
he won't know how he did it. It kind of came through. You know, it will get by you.
Yeah.
If you do something good musically, you won't think, "Oh God, I meant that." Well, actually, you did, but you weren't realizing at the time. You put it down, and you listen to it later and go, "Wow." You know,
where did that come from?
Yeah.
Right? It's that alignment with source, our true alignment with source. And then there's a let go and trust with that.
You have to. It's the best thing.
Where you don't try and control it or think. There's the thinking part again. You know, where it's the more you can let go and trust in that. I think it does help to have sometimes an intention of where you might want to go. Because I've done that. I know you have, or with the art, I have this intention, like with me doing this project I've been working on. I have an intention of where I want to go, but I could control that so much that there's no life to it.
Well, yeah, don't just hold the intention, but don't try to control it. There's a difference between control and command. Like a great violinist playing in front of an audience, he has everybody, but he is in command of that audience. He's not controlling them. They're coming to him. They're forward because it's so beautiful. But, you know, like, you know, jackboot control, no, that's very lower self. But the command is of higher self.
Yeah. And it also comes with the mastery of yourself is how you can command.
It does.
You really do need that mastery. So I've been on the planet 65 years now. I've been working on this mastery, you know, from probably my first breath, and I'll be working on it probably my last breath. And I hope I've, you know, done a good job, you know, and doing, you know, what I came out here to do and to remember And again, I'm going to bring it back to for me, it's that love part, that love connection, that source connection where we're not separate, we're not alone, we're not isolated, but
Love is the answer.
it is.
Things, it's a wonderful thing if you can get to where you feel it, and it's just, it's an amazing thing. But
it is. It truly,
hard to hold.
is. It's hard to hold, but it's like anything. The more you have a relationship with it and make it more real and kind of have it and be a part of your life, then the more it can grow.
Mm-hmm.
And with love, just with exponentially, unconditionally with so many people, and like we've had the show about love before, and love with nature, love with, children or family or animals. I mean, talk about unconditional love, our animals that we have are just amazing, unconditional love creatures that are just really
pretty funny, though. They're pretty odd. That cat's pretty odd, I tell you. Yeah, I know what you mean. He's cool.
Yeah. So we'll bring it all home, and so we're in that the information age, kind of going into developing into an intuition age of consciousness, and developing that, and finding there's some freedom in at least exploring that, and to where it could be a real part of the normal life here on the earth. So
that'll take place in its own good time. I'm
will.
quite sure of that. But also with each individual, that is where it really takes place.
Yep.
It takes place to a greater describable degree the more people that do it, but it's hard to just count them and see who is or isn't.
Yeah.
But
and that comes down to choice, our choice.
And it's each individual person and how they deal with it and apprehend it, which means learn, comprehend it, and dig it, grok it.
And rock it from, and wear it and be it and use it and be a part of all of it. So it's pretty cool and wonderful. So we'll thank all of our listeners. I think we're almost to the end of our show.
Yeah, we ought to be, but we got at least 2 minutes.
Yeah, I wanted
not a bit more, because sometimes it's a little late lately, and I don't know why, but so it is.
Okay. Well, then I'd just like to have our listeners go to BarbaraJeanLindsey.com. That's BarbaraJeanLindsey.com. And you can check out all the stuff I'm doing and what I'm, what's happening, all the happenings. And we have the Cosmic Oracle Show on Facebook. So I do tell there who I'm going to have as a guest and what's going on there, as well as the Cosmic Oracle Show on Facebook. And so part of that, and we do have a YouTube channel, the Cosmic Oracle, but it definitely plays after we have the Cosmic Oracle. I mean, not the Cosmic Oracle, we have the Revolution Radio YouTube channel as well, which is awesome. And we have the new live that's up too.
No, that went down. Yeah, no.
I was so excited about that.
It wasn't monetarily appealing or secure. It just wasn't happening.
Oh.
To put it bluntly. So.
Yeah, but we're working on things, and so you never know what we're going to come up around here. But you will know that we're trying our best and come from our heart to speak our truth, and hopefully, what I'm experiencing, and I won't speak for you, Patrick, but what you're experiencing, that our listeners are also experiencing, and it just helps to talk story and remember all the love, and that's what we're made of. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Patrick.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Thank you.
I'll see everyone next Friday.
Okay,
thank
you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
The body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. The heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. And do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
Take a look around, kid. What do you see? Homes being foreclosed. People working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table and still drowning in debt. Don't get me wrong. This country is founded on great ideals and principles. They've all been ruined by the banks. Open your eyes to the banks that are robbing you. You know who my favorite president was? Who? Thomas Jefferson. Because he saw all of this coming and tried to stop it. He fought the banks. JFK too, and they killed him for it. The banking institution is more dangerous than an army, he said.